Thank you, Mayor Riley. We're now live.
Good evening and welcome councillors, executive leadership team, community members and council staff to tonight's special council meeting. My name is Councillor Tim Dryley and I'm the Mayor of Hepburn Shire Council. Hepburn Shire Council acknowledges the Dja Dja Wurrung as the traditional owners of the lands and waters in which we live and work. On these lands, Djarra have performed age-old ceremonies of celebration, initiation and renewal. We recognise their resilience through dispossession, and it's a testament to their continuing culture and tradition, which is strong and thriving. We also acknowledge the neighbouring traditional owners, the Wurundjeri to our southeast and the Wadawurrung to our southwest, and pay our respect to all Aboriginal peoples, their culture and law. We acknowledge their living culture and the unique role they play in the life of this region. As we are taking this meeting virtually, I'll read on behalf of my councillor colleagues the councillor statement of commitment to prevent any audio feedback occurring. We, the councillors of Hepburn Shire, declare that we will undertake on every occasion to carry out our duties in the best interests of the community, and that our conduct shall maintain the standards of the good code of governance so that we may faithfully represent and uphold the trust placed in this council by the people of Hepburn Shire. Tonight's council meeting will be conducted virtually. In the spirit of open, transparent and accountable governance, the meeting is being live streamed on council's Facebook page and you'll be able to view the proceedings of the meeting, council deliberations and voting. The meeting is also being recorded and will be made available on council's website as soon as practicable after the meeting. Should technology problems be encountered and we are unable to broadcast this meeting, the meeting will be adjourned until resolution or postponed until the live stream can be re-established. In accordance with Chapter 6, Section 3 of our governance rules, a person, including any representative of the media, must not operate photographic, audio or video recording equipment or any other recording device at council meeting without first obtaining the consent of the chairperson. I also remind everyone that local government decision-making, unlike state and federal government, does not afford the benefit of parliamentary privilege and hence no protection is afforded to councillors and council officers for comments made during meetings which are subsequently challenged in a court of law and determined to be slanderous. As per ministerial guidelines for virtual meetings, councillors are required to advise individually whether they can see and hear the proceedings and their councillor colleagues. I will confirm to each councillor whether they can be heard. Councillor Henderson, I'll start with you. Councillor Henderson, can you please confirm you can hear proceedings and see and hear all your colleagues?
Yes, I can confirm all of that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. I can confirm that I can see and hear you. Councillor Bray, can you please confirm you can hear proceedings and see and hear all of your colleagues?
Thank you, Mayor Riley. I can confirm that I can see and hear all my councillor colleagues and proceedings.
Thank you, Councillor Bray. I can confirm that I can see and hear you. And Councillor Hewitt, can you please confirm you can hear proceedings and see and hear all your colleagues?
Thank you, Mayor. I confirm that I can see and hear all my councillor colleagues and proceedings.
Thank you, Councillor Hewitt. I can confirm that I can see and hear you. Councillor Simpson, can you please confirm you can hear proceedings and see and hear all of your colleagues?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can see all of my colleagues and I can hear proceedings.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson. I can confirm I can see and hear you. Councillor Halliday, can you please confirm you can hear proceedings and see and hear all of your colleagues?
Thank you, Mayor. I can confirm that I can hear proceedings and see and hear all of my councillor colleagues.
Thank you, Councillor Halliday. I can confirm that I can see and hear you. Councillor Hood, can you please confirm you can hear proceedings and see and hear all your colleagues?
I can see and hear my colleagues and proceedings.
Thanks, Councillor Hood. I can confirm that I can see and hear you. And I confirm that I can see and hear all of my councillor colleagues. Now, Mr. Thomas is an apology for this evening, so I'm just asking if there are any other apologies for this evening.
No,
Sorry, Lee, you go ahead.
Thank you, Andrew. No, there are no further apologies for this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. McCallum. I'd like now to introduce council officers who are present in this council meeting. We have Mr. Andrew Burgess, Director of Organisational Services, Ms. Lee McCallum, Director of Community and Development, Mr. Bruce Lucas, Director of Infrastructure and Delivery, Mr. Chris White, ICT Manager, Ms. Rebecca Smith, Acting Manager, Governance and Risk. All right, declaration of conflicts of interest. As required at any other meeting of council, councillors must declare a conflict of interest at the start of the meeting and leave the meeting when the item is presented to council. Councillors will be required to leave the meeting and return when the item has been resolved. Throughout the meeting, if a councillor realises that they have an interest, they can declare it at that point and follow the same procedure. Councillors, does anyone have a conflict of interest to declare? I'll take that as a no. Officers that are present, I now ask whether you have a conflict of interest in any items presented before council tonight. I'll take that as a no as well. And at this point, I'd like to introduce Ms. Lee McCallum to introduce our report for the hearing of public submissions, proposed renaming of geographic feature Jim Crow Creek.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, Council undertook a community consultation process between 30th of September 2022 and 12th of November 2021, my apologies, and 12th of November 2021, inviting public feedback on the proposed renaming of Jim Crow Creek to Lani Barramul Yaluk. The outcome of the community consultation indicated overall support for the proposal. Consultation results included a summary of issues and feedback from the community, which were presented to council at a briefing in December 2021. Prior to making its decision whether to recommend the renaming of the creek, council is undertaking an additional step of holding this special council meeting, at which respondents from the consultation period in 2021 have been invited to present their submissions to council. Councillors, there are 14 respondents who have submitted to speak this evening. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Lee. Council will not be making a decision on the renaming at this meeting. We're here to listen to submissions. The decision of the renaming will be made at the April ordinary meeting of council. Council supports a welcoming, respectful and safe environment for members of the community to share their views. We're asking that those speakers this evening are respectful of differing views and the rights and reputation of others. Speakers may be removed from the meeting if their comments become disrespectful or aggressive. I have a recommendation, and that is that Council 1 resolves to invite each of the submitters listed in Table 1 to speak to their submission regarding the proposed renaming of Jim Crow Creek for a maximum of 3 minutes at the special meeting of Council to be held tonight on the 22nd of March 2022. Consider submissions made at the special council meeting prior to making its determination regarding whether to recommend to Geographic Names Victoria that Jim Crow Creek be renamed to Lani Barramul Yaluk at the future meeting of council, at a future meeting of council. I'm in search of a motion. Do I have a mover?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so you're moving the officer's recommendation.
That's correct.
And do I have a seconder for that recommendation? That motion. Thanks, Councillor Hewitt. Councillor Henderson, would you like to speak to the motion? Councillor Hewitt?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Would anyone else like to talk to the motion? Thank you. I'll put the motion to the vote. Councillors, all those in favour, please raise your hands. And that's carried unanimously. So we now move on to request 9.2 to request to address council. And we have 14 requests to address council that have been received for tonight's meeting. And I'd like to invite Michelle Clifford to address council in support of the Jim Crow Creek renaming. You might have been on mute, Chris. You might have been on mute, Chris. Hello, Ms Clifford.
Hello, thank you, Mayor, for letting me speak. Well,
Oh, you've gone on mute. Hang on. We'll get you back in a sec. Here we are.
hello, thank you, Mayor, for letting me speak. Well,
You just need to turn
reverb.
the mic off.
Thank you, Mayor.
Right,
And
you've got
thank you,
3 minutes, and I'll give you a bit of a warning before that.
Thank you. Jim Crow must go. Thanks to everyone for letting me speak. My first submission was back in 2008, where I declared my position that this was a racist name. Back in 2018, with the Our Languages Matter conference, all the other LGAs were there with GeoNames, Aboriginal Heritage and every agency, except Hepburn Shire Council, who were invited to the table but did not come. I was at that table. I was wondering why you weren't there. You didn't join the conversation until the year after. This name is racially offensive and causes genuine harm and trauma, not only to the Indigenous people, but also to its allies. Changing the name should have been an easy quest, as so many other precedents have been set in Australia, from Queensland to Mansfield, just to name a two. After consulting with many people whom were against the name, the change only seemed to have the excuse was that it has always been there since my family have. It has always been that way. Well, actually it hasn't. And this is indicative of the systematic racism which is embedded in our community. It's time to acknowledge the past of genocide, stolen lands and erosion of culture and language. We need to bring truth-telling to light and correct the injustices and incorrect history of colonialism. It's the only way for us to bring reconciliation and commitment to the rich Djara history and to protect the surviving elements of the area. Let's show respect, bring back cultural references and language into the fabric of our shire and change the name. The name was only named this way after Jim Crow Hill got its name. The hill and creek were named after a very racist, murderous squatter. When the creek got named, the old people were labelled Jim Crow natives, tribe, or Jim Crow blacks. This is incredibly racist. The Djara were not allowed to cross the river, and using this name enforced such racial fear. Many families have reported that to me over the years. And they've also reported that if they did cross, there was murder. I dedicate my speech tonight, and I thank you for letting me have a say, but I'd like to dedicate this speech to those in the Dreaming, especially Uncle Les McDonald and Joan McKenzie, who passed away a few days ago. I also would like to say that I feel it's really sad that it's taken so long for this name to have been changed and for the council to come to the table to speak about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms Clifford. Thanks for addressing council tonight.
Oh, could I also just say that I did a petition, and in that petition to change the name, which unfortunately could not be tabled with you guys because it didn't have addresses, as of today, it was 2,473, and the majority of those were from our shire or Indigenous people because of their connection to water and their rights to the water. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I'd now like to invite Mr. Brett Allenport from Gathering Men to address council in support of the Jim Crow Creek rename.
Through you, Mayor Dryly, just to let councillors know that there is work going in the background at the moment just to be able to admit people in. So please just bear with us as we do that through our ICT team.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Burgess.
There is a message there in the
Okay.
for you, Mayor Dryly.
Sure. Okay. So we'll move on to invite Ms. Liz Ingham to address council instead in support of Jim Crow Creek rename. And I believe that Liz might not be currently in the room either. So let's move on to, we're inviting Ms. Marnie Island from Wurundjeri Woi Wurrung Cultural Heritage Corporation to address council in support of the Jim Crow Creek rename. And Ms. Island's just connecting. Can you hear us, Ms. Island?
I can indeed.
All right, so you've got 3 minutes to address council on this matter. Can you go,
Excellent.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. So I love that we're all here today because we all love this place. I'm assuming that's the place that we all start from. And it's a good place to start from. I acknowledge the Dja Dja Wurrung as the traditional owners, and I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. I just wanted to introduce myself. My partner and I have been custodians of 28 acres on lands with a tributary of Lani Barramul Yallock running through it for the past 10 years. We've put blood, sweat, tears, and a heck of a lot of cash into restoration of some Swiss Italian ruins. Prior to that, a well-known Swiss Italian family had custodianship of the land, and that was for about 180 years. And then prior to that, the Jara people had custodianship of the land for about 60 to 70,000 years and did an excellent job of managing it. So I think it's really important for those who perhaps haven't had the opportunities I've had through my work to reflect on the custodianship of the Jara people. And if people haven't read The Greatest Estate on Earth or Dark Emu, they would be really good ways to enlighten ourselves if we've been the product of the mainstream white Anglo-Saxon educational processes, which I was one of those, but I have since re-educated myself. For this particular consideration, I think it's important to reflect on a few key facts, and those would be that Jara people never forfeited their rights to this country. It was taken against their will. Prior to this dispossession of the land and the land and its features already had names, and that there are numerous international, federal and state laws, policies that support recognition of the rights of First Nations people. So I think what I'm reflecting on personally in my submission to this is I find it a little bit confronting that a process of public consultation has to be gone through to right the wrongs of the past. From my perspective, if Dja Dja Wurrung say they would like this particular land feature to return to its original name, I believe that's what it should happen. And I believe that should happen across all of Jara country. So I think that's short and sharp. I've kept it less than 3 minutes, but they were the key points that I wanted to make.
Thank you, Ms. Island. Thanks for addressing council tonight.
No problems at all.
I now invite Mr. Gary Lawrence to address council in support of the Jim Crow Creek rename. And here he is. Hi, Gary, you're on mute. Let's take yourself off mute.
Sorry.
That's all right. Thanks for addressing council tonight. You've got 3 minutes, Mr. Lawrence.
Okay. All right, I'll just read this. Thanks for the opportunity to offer my support to reinstating of a Jaran chosen name for this waterway, Lani Burramul Yaluk. The Hepburn Shire has made a binding obligation to reconciliation, and this change of name will be evidence of that commitment. My apologies for the following use of racially offensive language as quoted below. History tells us that John Hepburn and his party recorded the name Jim Crow in reference to what Jara people knew as Lulgumbuk, Lana Burramul, that is currently called Mount Franklin and environs. Hepburn was well aware of and in contact with Aboriginal people throughout both his overlandings. In fact, it was Aboriginal people assisting and directing these 1830s opportunists across the landscape that provided access to many of the Aboriginal names and places, landscape features, etc., that were recorded by Major Mitchell, George Robertson, and others like Hepburn. The correct Jara name for Mount Franklin was recorded on early survey maps, but the creek waterway below the mount was recorded as Jim Crow Creek in the late 1840s. The British government had directed that Indigenous names and places should be recorded and maintained. A series of 1840s and 1850s Loddon District survey maps do record many of these existing names. Unfortunately, egos of many interrupted that good intention, with new names given, mostly referring to British or European royalty, aristocracy, or places. The choice Jim Crow is clearly referencing the 1830s vaudeville song and dance routine made popular across the English-speaking world, including the colony of New South Wales. To be clear, the song was referred to as the nigger song. It was performed by a white man in blackface who dressed in ragged clothes with many patched holes on the clothing. The verses included a type of pidgin English, sung with a stutter, while the performer would stagger about to imply stupidity. The audiences found the performance to be hilarious, and this song and similar continued to be performed in blackface by travelling vaudeville troupes into the 1880s, including here in Dalesford. The Jim Crow name is racially offensive, is recorded in our history in reference to our local goldfield, and that's where it should be archived. The name given by Jara should be recognised, recorded and used from this point on as evidence that we're all walking together in reconciliation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence, for addressing council tonight. We'll leave it there. And the next person we have is Ms. Joan McKenzie to address council, and she's in support as well of the Jim Crow Creek renaming.
Councillor Dryly, Jane isn't in the waiting room either, but we do have Liz in the waiting room if you want to go back to her. So.
Okay, we'll go back to Liz Ingham, wasn't it? So Ms. Ingham, you're welcome to address council, and you have 3 minutes.
Yep, I'm just admitting her into the room now.
Oh, okay, sure, sorry. Hello, Ms. Ingham, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Thank you for inviting me.
Great. Well, you're welcome to address council, and you have 3 minutes. So ready when you are.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'd like to start by acknowledging the people whose land I'm on, which is the Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation. So I pay my respect to their elders past, present and emerging. But my submission is about Dja Dja Wurrung land, where I live on the weekends. Firstly, I'd like to say that the council materials are superb. I was just really grateful for seeing the information laid out in such a clear, concise language, and it's just so helpful. I'm in favour of the renaming. I love the proposed new name, Lani Burramul Yaluk. I've been using that name for the creek since I first found out that it was mooted as a name. It's taken me a little while to get used to it. Like I had to learn it. It's not an easy name, which is the only negative thing I can think of. I've heard proposals for a language name for the native water rat, Rackley, and I have seen Rackley there in the creek. But other than that, we've been using the name because I never want to say the old racist name out loud ever again. No one should ever be asked to use a name like that if they're against racism, if they're a name that refers to massacres. I never want to use that name again. Whatever happens, please rename the creek. Don't oppose it because it's difficult or for any other reason. I'm in the interesting situation that when people often, when I speak to them about how I support the renaming, people often say, well, how long have you even lived here? What right do you have? And I've only been here 20 years. And so that makes me a newcomer, although my convict ancestor was the local postie, and I bet he knew Lani Baramulyaluk by a different name and not the racist name, which appeared after he was the postie there. So even in colonial times, the racist name is comparatively new. But I'm a newcomer, so the name, like most newcomers, the name really rings out to me from its racist origins and its American origins. And it might be that just through usage and not through racism, the racist name that I don't want to say has kind of been blunted, and people kind of say, oh, don't take my childhood away. We used to play by the creek and we're not racist. Well, they're not. And there can be kindness to people who don't feel bad feelings about the old name like us newcomers do. There can be kindness. We can allow people to keep using the name, just don't have that name on any signs. It's abhorrent. I hope all this is making sense. I'm not sure I can tell from your faces that I'm having any impact at all. There should be kindness to the people who don't like to rename.
You have 10 seconds, Liz.
Rename it, embrace change, sovereignty. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ms. Ingham, for addressing council. Now, I do apologise. As Michelle said, Joan McKenzie has sadly passed away a few days ago. I believe Mark Murphy might be reading her submission. Do we have Ms. Murphy in the room, Chris? Oh, I'm not hearing this, Chris.
Still just checking now through you, Mayor Dryley, but I don't believe Mark Murphy is in the waiting room at the moment, but I'll confirm that.
Should we go to Padma?
Yeah. Sorry, Mayor Dryley, I've just been contacted by Margaret. She's dealing with funeral business tonight and will be unable to attend, so she's an apology for tonight's meeting.
And we have Padma in the room?
Yes, we do. I'll just admit her into the room.
Hello.
Hello, Padma.
Go ahead, yes.
Yes, hi.
Hi, welcome to our council meeting, and I believe you're speaking in support of the renaming of the Jim Crow Creek.
Yes, I am.
Look, you've got 3 minutes to do that, so when you're ready, you can start.
Okay, thank you. Hello, councillors. I'm glad to have this opportunity to speak with you. We moved to the area of Yandoit in 2016 after having lived in the Macedon Ranges for 20 years. And upon discovering that the creek that runs in front of our property was named Jim Crow, I had a bit of a meltdown. My country of origin is the United States, and my mother's family is in Oklahoma, where Jim Crow law still exists, and it is a tragedy because it is a mindset that is still pervasive in not only that state of Oklahoma, but in many other places. And when I realized that here in Australia, the term Jim Crow, which is, it is directly related to white supremacy, and it is a term of degradation, and it's a travesty. So in any case, when we found out that the creek here was named Jim Crow, I kind of went, oh my God, how is that even possible? I did some reading about it and discovered that there is a history in terms of the name. I understand that. But I think that as we go forward, we need to really be mindful of terminologies that are cruel and that have connotations that go well beyond what might have at one time been well-meaning or giving one person some recognition. But in reality, we live in a much broader world now where terminologies are spread far and wide and have an impact that if it's built, if it's founded on something, let's say cruelty, that has a ripple effect. And keeping that alive, keeping that, perpetuating that, to me seems a foolishness in taking that forward. The people that will be living here long after we're gone don't need to be burdened by the...
You have 10 seconds, Padma.
Yeah, by the unfortunate title of Jim Crow. Done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for presenting tonight. We now have Mr. Nick Richardson to address council, and he's in support of the renaming of Jim Crow Creek 2.
Thank you, Major Riley. I'll just admit Nick.
Hello, Mr. Richardson. Can you hear us?
Are you talking to me, Nick Richardson?
I am. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You've got 3 minutes to address us tonight, so when you're ready.
Right. I'll just put my microphone in. Go. Yes, Nick Richardson is my name, and I'd like to thank you again for having me. I'm a resident of Locarno Road in Clydesdale and have been so for over 20 years. I think this is an opportunity for the Hepburn Shire to show leadership and set us all on a good path to helping redress the generational disadvantage and racism that has been inherent in our culture. I don't think here is an opportunity to guilt or shame people, but we have an opportunity to look now at a better future. I find personally that every time I cross the crossing of the creek, the name upsets and offends me because of what I understand of both the racial history of this country and the racial history of other countries like America, where I think we all believe that the name probably originated in the current name probably originated from. I'm incredibly fortunate to have amongst my friendship group many Indigenous people. I've worked in Indigenous in the Indigenous field for 17 of my 40 working years. I'm very proud to say that some of my closest and best friends are Gunditj Mara, are Dja Dja Wurrung, are Yorta Yorta, and I think perhaps those of you in the council might remember some years ago, a young Dja Dja Wurrung woman wrote an open letter. I think it was probably published in the Midland Express. And I think she expressed the sentiments of many in that letter, where she explained how hurtful she found having to encounter that name. You're going to get people who object, and I understand that. And as I said in my submission, I don't think it's no longer enough to say, this has been the status quo, let's not upset the status quo. I put it in quotation marks for obvious reasons. The sentiment that the creek has always been named Jim Crow and therefore we shouldn't change it. I mean, clearly it has not always been named Jim Crow, but equally importantly, I think, as I say, here is an opportunity for the Shire to lead in redressing a hurtful historic naming convention. I think there's an opportunity to, in doing so, to demonstrate that we are committed to facing what generational disadvantage means and ways in which we can redress that generational disadvantage. It's a pretty simple matter, not without cost, not without complication, but we aren't—
10 seconds, Mr. Ellenport.
We aren't sending people to Mars. Let's lead, not follow, and let's be courageous in this. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ellenport. Thanks for presenting tonight.
Through you, Mayor, that was Mr. Richardson.
Sorry, Mr. Richardson. We are now going to Mr. Ellenport. So we're going back to him because he is now in the room.
That's correct. Just admitting Mr. Ellenport now.
Can you hear us? Is connecting?
I'm still connecting audio.
Yeah. Must be on dial-up. Can you hear us, Mr. Ellenport? Aha. Can you hear us, Mr. Ellenport?
Yes, can hear you now fine.
All right.
Apologies for that. A few technical details at this end.
That's right. We're used to a few technical difficulties.
I'm sure you are.
Now, you've got 3 minutes to address this tonight, so go ahead.
Not a problem. You can see me, video and audio is fine?
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Oh, okay, no problem. Do I need to put on video or is that fine with audio?
No,
okay,
that's
fantastic. Fine. Great. So, yeah, well, thanks very much, everyone, for your time this evening. My name's Brett Ellenport. I live out on Dja Dja Wurrung country, on Gunungurra Gunditj, specifically on their mob's country. Have been for about 10 years looking after a property called Tanderrum, the name of which I was given the right to use by the late Uncle Brian Nelson. And he did so with the express interest in the property that we run men's gathering groups and women's gathering groups on being used to share and care country. And just come off a gathering yesterday, and part of the storyline around honouring Dja Dja Wurrung country is to talk to the men that we work with about the sacred country that we are on. We tell them about the sacred mountains around us, Lianganuk, Lalgambuk, Tarangawa, Karuchiang, these sacred mountains that hold us. And part of, we talk about Lana Baramal, the emu dreaming to the north of us. And it's very important in the work that we're doing with these fellas to understand that we are connected to country, that we're connected to nature, that we're not separate from it. And therefore, when we're feeling disconnected to country and to nature, essentially what it is we're disconnected to ourselves. And what happens when we use our names over the original names is that we become disconnected to country. And what is going on here with the name change and the suggested name change from what I believe Jim Crow Creek name that is just highly inappropriate in 2022, in fact, highly appropriate anyway. Coming back to its traditional name of Lannaburramul Yaluk just makes sense. It's 2022. I believe that we should be using all of the names that I've just spoken to, just as they do successfully in New Zealand, where the traditional name is the first name that we see and read and hear, and the other name, the whitefellow's name, is in under that. So I think it's time. I think it's Hepburn Council have an opportunity here to lead the way on this stuff. And I'd love to see you all refuse to let that opportunity pass you by. And that is me for this evening. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, great. So thanks, Mr. Allenport. Thanks for presenting to us. We now go to Cassandra Thorburn when she is able to come to the room.
Yep. Thank you, Major Riley. Just admitting Cassandra now.
Can you hear us, Ms. Thorburn? Still connecting? Hello, Ms. Thorburn, can you hear us?
I think we have an audio issue. I saw an error. Can you hear us, Ms. Thorburn?
No, she's trying. Hello,
Okay,
hello,
that
hello.
looks better.
Hello.
You can hear us. Thank you, Ms. Thorburn.
Hi.
Welcome. Thank you for presenting tonight. You've got 3 minutes, and I believe you're presenting in support of the renaming.
Okay, yes, I am. And I guess the title of what I'm speaking is the restoration of the people and the land and waterways and all that they sustain and support. I'm going to quote from a book which was written by a friend of mine, Binna Pownall, and it's a guide to cultural protocols. So deep respect and gratitude is felt towards elders past and present. We honour them for maintaining the lands in what is now called Australia. We witness the humility and tenacity of the present day descendants in the face of such great adversity. A deep regret is felt by many for the past wrongdoings. I acknowledge that this country now called Australia was and still is first and foremost the land of the original inhabitants. And as cultural awareness deepens and people choose to become more aware of other cultural customs and ways other than their own, we come to realise how integrally important it is to firstly acknowledge, then link in with and unite with First Peoples of our nation before we do anything else. The underlying reason for showing respect to the original custodians of that land by way of following protocols is that by tying in with the local tribe, this ensures that we're getting it right, literally from the ground up. So I guess a little bit about myself. About 5 years ago, coming up to 6 years ago, purchased a block in Clydesdale, which runs fairly close alongside what is now called Jim Crow Creek and will hopefully be restored to a far more respectful name. Since I purchased the place, I've had a caretaker look out for it. And he's a Dja Dja Wurrung descendant, Cameron Gunn, who is also Wadiji is his tribal name. I've also begun a project with a great mob called Connecting Country, which is a 10-year project looking at weed and pest elimination and reduction on the land, and we'll continue to work with them. And I've had some interaction with the local Hepburn Shire CFA about restoring cultural burns and mosaic burns to the land. I guess that Wadiji and myself really both feel strongly about
You have 10
restorative
seconds, Ms.
justice.
Thorburn.
Sorry?
You have about 10 seconds.
Okay, we both feel very strongly about restorative justice and healing. And having been involved in ritual and ceremony at Lunjanook in Harcourt and Lulgumbuk, and also at Kuyura myself with elders, and having had Arnie Brenda Kerr come out and find a grinding stone at the highest point on the land, I really do feel that the land has a connection, and that the name of Jim Crow Creek is one that is highly insulting, and the restoration of a Dja Dja Wurrung name would be respectful and allow us to progress in the healing of the people, the land and the waterways.
Thank you. Thank you very much for presenting tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Now, I move on to Mr. Tuck, is that correct?
That's correct, Major Riley. I'll just admit Mr. Tuck into the room. Are you there, David?
Here he is. I'm not hearing you, David. Just try again. Still not hearing you. Seeing you, but not hearing you. That might be better.
That's good. Just wait 2 seconds. I think it's connecting now.
Okay.
What about now?
Yep, that's good. Thanks for joining us.
Very good.
Now, you've got 3 minutes, Mr. Tuck, and I believe you're presenting in support of the renaming.
Yes, like everyone else. Look, I'm a newcomer to this conversation. I've lived uphill from the Jim Crow for the last 25 years. I can't say more than Barry Golding's excellent research. There's no point. And I agree with Liz Ingham that it's an excellent report, and by extension, the summary that Council provided. It's great. So to me, it's a no-brainer. And I noticed that no one else has presented so far during this meeting against it, against the proposal. I hope that what we're going through is the clerical process required by law for renaming of a place name. I've got audio feedback here, which is very disconcerting, but anyway, I assume it's coming out all right. I'd just like to say that
You might have the other thing on.
What's that?
If you've got the live stream going in the background, Mr. Tuck, you might have both going, but we can hear you fine. So
I reckon. Yeah, I had Facebook going.
Yeah, we can hear you
that,
fine.
Peter?
I reckon most of you now.
Yeah, okay. Look, I'm nearly finished. I don't have a lot to say. There's not a lot to be said that hasn't already been said. Look, I'd like to point out that people have a natural inclination, a natural urge to resist change. And so if you ask them, can we be bothered renaming the creek in a sensible way, many people will just take the path of least resistance and say that they can't be bothered. Well, I think they should be bothered. Like Liz, I've had the name written on an email on my fridge door for some time, and I've got it now. And I think that you'd find local people would just start referring to it as the Lani. And I just mentioned in the 1980s, my neighbour in a small town out of Ballarat, my neighbours had a cat, a black cat, and they called it Nigger. And, you know, at the time we thought, oh, well, I don't want to use that name, but we weren't, you know, it was sort of vaguely, it was a bit naughty. But times have moved on. That would be absolutely unacceptable now. And I think that progressively the pendulum is swinging, and we will find that it becomes increasingly unacceptable to use these pejorative names. Alice Springs to Uluru did work. Grampians to Gary Word has not fully worked, I think, because, you know, both names were used rather than the new name or the old name. But I think we should do it. I'll finish by saying or pointing out that this is a shire that has a significant emphasis on tourism. And what impression does that create? It's just, people must be gobsmacked when they see the name of that creek. And I live on the main Hepburn Newstead Road, which draws many tourists down, and they cross Bats Bridge and they see Jim Crow Creek. That's all.
All right. Thank you. I think you signalled your own end there with that chime. Thanks very much, Mr. Tuck. We are now moving on to some of our objectors tonight. And I'd like to invite Miss Yvonne Deans to address council in objection to the Crow Creek renaming.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor, and Yvonne's the only speaker against tonight. Ron passed on a last-minute apology, and Mr. Isles hasn't attended tonight. So. Okay. I'm just admitting Yvonne into the room now.
Thanks, Mr. White.
Are you there, Yvonne? We just need you to unmute. I believe you're on mute at the moment.
Hello, Ms. Deans, can you hear us? We can't hear you or see you.
Just try and give her a quick call, Meg.
Okay. She's saying she can't unmute.
Give her a quick call. Hold on.
Mr. Burgess, are you able to unmute her?
Okay.
No, we can.
Oh, there we go.
That's it. Thank you.
Unmuted.
Thank you.
I think I'm now being videoed. So
that's correct.
Oh, there we go. We can see you and hear you now, Ms. Deans. So thanks for presenting tonight. You've got 3 minutes to present. So please go ahead. You'll need to turn off the live stream in the background.
Oh, okay.
We can see you and hear you now, Ms. Deans. So thanks for presenting tonight. You've got 3 minutes to present. So
no problems. My husband is just switching the live stream off.
Turn off the live stream.
Yes. Yep. Just close it. No, it's not. You have to close it. Excuse me. Just close it. My husband is just switching the live stream off. Yes. Yep. Okay. Just close it. There's a delay. Okay.
All right. Go ahead when you're ready.
Right. Thank you very much for the opportunity to address council in respect of this proposal.
All right, go ahead when you're ready.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, but you need to turn the live stream off. We can still hear
No,
it.
the live stream is switched off. Have I got it? Oh.
We can hear you fine, but you'll need to just keep talking over the top of that or turn the background off.
Okay, I just have to go to Chrome.
We can hear you fine, but you'll need to just keep talking over the top of that or turn the background off.
Okay, I just have to go to
So you get passed over.
No, I'm just fixing it up now. Okay, I have now.
All right, that sounds good to us. So give it a shot.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much for the opportunity to address Council in respect of this proposal. My husband, Alan, and I have been here in Elevated Plains for some 30 years, since 1992. And in all those 30 years, we have never heard one person comment negatively on the name of Jim Crow Creek, let alone suggest that the name should actually be changed. I wonder what contempt we show for our history when something that has been named historically is now offensive and must be removed. To me, it smacks a bit of virtue signalling, not fixing something that's broken or wrong, but actually looking for a signal of something that we're doing right. And it's a much, possibly, why are we fixing something that isn't wrong or isn't broken, which would be a much better use of Council's time and our rates. I wonder how many people actually complained about the name Jim Crow Creek to trigger this proposal. I'm not privy to that information. Was there a focus group that was searching for something to be offended by? Was it Council looking for something to hang their hat on in this current climate of diversity, inclusion and equity? I'd be interested also to know how many people responded to the survey, and of those responses, what percentage were in favour of the change. To me, history is fact. History has happened and cannot be changed. This action is one of rewriting history, of changing something because it doesn't suit our current narrative. What precedent does that set for those who will agitate for changes in future? What statues will be removed, artwork taken down, no longer to be looked at or admired, books banned so they can't be read because they do not fit the narrative of that particular time? We position ourselves as weak and woke when we spend time and money on a matter like this, which is of so little importance in the scheme of things. And this is obviously my position, and which will make no difference to our daily life. Jim Crow Creek runs behind our property, and for 30 years, we
You have 10 seconds, Miss Deans.
panned gold, picnicked along it, hunted for the gold miners' pottery. We've fished in it, walked along to record the dry stone walls that the gold diggers built. We've seen it flood and we've seen it bone dry. It's a beautiful testament to the history of the area. We are proud of our local history, and Jim Crow is part of it and will always be Jim Crow Creek to us. I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Deans, for presenting tonight. And that brings us to the end of our objectives, I believe, Mr. White. And on that basis...
Yeah, that's correct, Major. All speakers are now left the meeting room.
There being no other items on the agenda, I now declare that the meeting is closed at 6:38 p.m.
Thank you, Major Ali. I'll stop streaming the live stream.